No, nobody wants to guess? Good, photosynthesis. Which one is photosynthesis, Naved, Shayla, the top or the bottom? Which process? Top, yeah. When the trees take in carbon dioxide, that's okay, Naved. I got what you meant. When the trees take in carbon dioxide and put out oxygen for us, that is photosynthesis. Good. All right. In what organelle does photosynthesis take place? Number 2. We went over all our organelles in chapter 3. We're going to talk about it extensively today. Good, Desiree. Chloroplasts, yep. What are the 3 letters that represent energy? Yep, Angelina, good, ATP. And then the root words, photo and synthesis. What does photo mean? What do you guys think? Yep, a lot of people always say picture, but photo doesn't mean picture. Pictures are taken with photo, with light. Pictures have to be taken in the light. Unless you have special filters. Most pictures are taken in the light. Photo means light. And what about synthesis? Anybody know what synthesis means? Pretty sure we've talked about this word before. To combine, combine's a good one. Combine, put together. So photosynthesis, meaning you're combining something using light. All right. Our essential question, how do different organisms obtain and use energy to survive in their environment? Some organisms use photosynthesis, which produce sugars that store chemical energy. And that is a picture of photosynthesis, of the molecules needed for photosynthesis and what those molecules eventually turn into. Producers. These are organisms that produce their own source of food. Another name for them is autotroph. Auto means self. If you're writing an autobiography, you're writing about yourself. And then troph means nutrients. So these organisms are making their own nutrients for themselves within their own cells. Example is plants. There's some bacteria that do it. Algae obviously do it too. But plants are the typical example organism when you talk about photosynthesis. And the general definition of photosynthesis is a process that captures energy from sunlight to make sugars. And there's one specific sugar that plants make. The equation of photosynthesis. If the week before Thanksgiving, our section was about ATP and it was also about chemical reactions and how to write a chemical reaction. We write them as equations. So this is photosynthesis 3 different ways. You have the equation at the top, 6 CO2. CO2 is carbon dioxide. So 6 molecules of carbon dioxide. Plus 6 H2O. We know that H2O is water, so 6 molecules of water. And then you add sunlight. And a chemical reaction is a breaking and reforming of chemical bonds. So the carbon dioxide and the water, their chemical bonds in their structure, they break and they reform to make C6H12O6, which is glucose, a type of sugar. and 6 molecules of oxygen, O2. So you have the same thing 3 different ways, in equation form, in word form, and in picture form. Sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water go in, oxygen and glucose come out. We talked about the reactants. Reactants are the starting substances on the left side. Products are the end substances on the right side. A chloroplast, this is where photosynthesis happens in plant cells. These are only found in plant cells. We don't have these. Our bodies don't do photosynthesis because we don't have chloroplasts. And it contains chlorophyll. This is the pigment that turns plants green. In our skin, we have melanin. Melanin is our pigment that gives us color. Some people have less melanin and their skin is lighter. Some people have more melanin and their skin is darker. Plants have different pigments, and all the green ones, chlorophyll is the main pigment. There are other colored plants, so there's other pigments, but when you think of plants, you think green. And that pigment is called chlorophyll. So chloroplast is the organelle, chlorophyll is the green pigment. The structure of a chloroplast. So if you look up a chloroplast up close, you can crack it open and there's all these little things inside. It's not hollow or it's not solid. There's structures inside. Just like when you open a cell, you get organelles. You open a chloroplast, you get all that stuff. There's grana, which are whole stacks of coin-shaped compartments. Each individual coin is called a thylakoid. There's stroma, which is the jelly-like fluid inside the chloroplast that surrounds the grana. The stroma is kind of like the cytoplasm of the cell. But when it's found inside a chloroplast, it's called the stroma. And different parts of photosynthesis take place in the different structures. There's 2 phases of photosynthesis. There's a light-dependent phase, the light-dependent reactions, that happens first, and then the light-independent reactions. So the first one needs light. It's dependent on how much light it gets. The second phase does not need light. It can happen at night in the dark. So sometimes they're called the dark reactions. Sometimes it's called the Calvin cycle after the scientists that figured it out. So the light independent reactions, the dark reactions, the Calvin cycle, it's all the same thing. They're different names for the same process. The light dependent reactions. First, the chlorophyll captures energy from sunlight. So in other words, these reactions depend on how much sunlight the plant gets. The more sunlight it has, the more chlorophyll molecules will capture the light. These reactions take place in the thylakoid, or the coins. Both water and sunlight are needed. And energy is transferred by ATP. So this process needs ATP. It requires energy. The light-independent reactions take place in the stroma, or the jelly-like fluid. And this half of photosynthesis takes carbon dioxide and turns it into sugar.